It was hot. Like, really hot. The kind of hot that makes you question the laws of physics. How could air, the very thing we breathe and rely on for survival, transform into this thick, oppressive blanket? The news blared warnings of a heat dome, a term that sounded both ominous and vaguely comical. But the humor evaporated when I learned that even airplanes, those majestic birds of steel, were grounded. Grounded. If the heat could defeat a Boeing, what hope did I have? Stepping outside felt like being shoved into a preheated oven. My skin prickled with 1,000 tiny sun kisses, and not the pleasant kind. The air hung heavy, stagnant, as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion. Even my dog Winston, usually a fan of anything outdoors, refused to leave the cool sanctuary of the house. He lay sprawled on the kitchen floor, panting heavily, a look of utter betrayal in his big brown eyes. "Come on, boy," I coaxed, snapping his leash. "Just a quick walk around the block." He didn't budge. Instead, he rolled onto his back, offering me his belly in a silent plea for peace, not to mention a belly rub. Defeated, I grabbed an old t-shirt, soaking it in cold water before draping it over Winston's back. He sighed contentedly, the makeshift cooling vest providing some relief from the relentless heat. As for me, I resorted to more primitive methods, fanning myself furiously with a magazine, guzzling ice water like a marathon runner. This oppressive heat triggered a childhood memory, vivid as if it happened yesterday. My mother, ever the queen of colorful expressions, used to call days like this hairdryer days. "Don't even think about going outside," she'd warn, her voice laced with mock seriousness. "It's a hairdryer day out there. You'll melt into a puddle." Of course, being kids, we didn't always listen. We'd sneak out, braving the scorching heat for a chance to ride our bikes or play tag in the park. The memory brought a smile to my face. A bittersweet reminder of simpler times, of summer days that seemed to stretch on forever. Back then, the heat felt different somehow, less oppressive, more like an adventure. Maybe it was the boundless energy of youth, or perhaps the blissful ignorance of a world grappling with climate change. Section 4. Fashion in the Age of Meltdown, a social commentary. Stepping out for a necessary grocery run felt like entering a surreal fashion show, a testament to the human capacity for adaptation, or perhaps desperation. There was the man in the oversized straw hat, his face obscured by a curtain of netting, looking like a beekeeper on his day off. A woman strolled by wearing a swimsuit top and a sarong, her nonchalant air suggesting that this was perfectly normal attire for a trip to the supermarket. And then there were the kids. Ah, the kids. They were a walking, talking commentary on the absurdity of it all. One little boy sported a t-shirt emblazoned with the words, "I survived the great heat wave of 2024. Another wore a shirt that simply said, "It's too hot to handle." Section 5 Stranded, a sisterly symposium on sweltering skies. Later that day, I found myself on the phone with my sister, lamenting about the grounded flights. We were supposed to fly to our parents for their anniversary, a milestone we'd been looking forward to for months. "I know," she sighed, her voice heavy with disappointment. "It's just not fair. This heat wave had to hit right when we had plans. We spent the next hour brainstorming alternative travel arrangements, our conversation a comical symphony of frustration and resignation. Trains were booked solid. Buses were out of the question. Have you ever been on a Greyhound in this kind of heat?" Driving was an option, but a daunting one, considering the distance and the prospect of being stuck in a metal box on wheels, with only the radio and our sanity for company. "Maybe we can convince Mom and Dad to postpone the party," my sister suggested, her voice laced with a hint of desperation. I knew it was a long shot. My parents, creatures of habit and tradition, wouldn't dream of changing their plans, especially not for something as trivial as a heat wave. Section 6. Accepting the Inevitable, a Bittersweet Memory. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long orange shadows across my sweltering apartment, a wave of sadness washed over me. I wouldn't be with my family to celebrate this special occasion. The realization stung, a bitter pill to swallow. I closed my eyes, conjuring up an image of my mother, her face creased with laughter, her arms outstretched in a warm embrace. I could almost hear her voice, filled with that familiar mix of love and gentle admonishment. "Oh, David," she'd say, her hand patting my arm. "It's all right, darling. These things happen. We'll celebrate properly when you're here. Besides," she'd add with a wink, It wouldn't be a real party without one of us missing, now would it? And in that moment, surrounded by the suffocating heat, a sense of peace settled over me. I was reminded that life, much like the weather, was unpredictable, a tapestry woven with both joy and disappointment. And sometimes all we could do was adapt, find humor in the absurdity, and hold on to the memories that brought us comfort.